embarrassing thing that's happened to me in porn.
Most embarrassing porn moment.
In porn, most embarrassing thing.
Embarrassing things that have happened to me in porn.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh my God, okay.
I am pretty clumsy, so I think the most embarrassing would just be like falling over wearing too high heels or like, you know, using a strap on really aggressively and making myself fall. These aren't the easiest to walk in.
My first set, I didn't know that you're not supposed to use toilet paper at all. So then like I wiped myself with toilet paper after using the bathroom and they were like, you have like a piece of toilet paper on your pussy. And I was like, oh, they're like, you know, just so you know, you just use baby wipes just from like the beginning of the shoot to the end and that's it. And I was like, oh, okay, sick. Now I know.
I was doing a cam show and I was licking the balls of this one dildo and it whacked me in the eye so hard that the entire white went red. But I was doing a gold show, so I didn't want to end the show. So I'm crying and then fucking my ass and I'm like, no, you guys just keep going. And I went to the doctor and he was like, so how did this happen? My childhood doctor. And he's like, just don't do that again. And then I did it again. I have not seen that doctor since. It really did fuck up my eye pretty bad. I almost thought I was gonna get pink eye from it in a way because it was also my anal toy.
I farted on a guy's ball sack when he went all the way in. He had a big dick. And I was mortified. I was like, oh, cause I'm like this. I'm like this. And he's like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking come. I didn't come, I farted on his ball sack.
I was shooting one scene and I swear I won't name it, and I passed gas while on set because I was in this really compromising position that had me like, what?
I mean, like, I farted a few times, but no one even, like, notices or, like, even cares, and you just get louder, so, you know, you just play it off like nothing happens.
I probably tooted in the guy's face while doing doggy. And we just played it off like everything was cool.
Oh, actually, for Reckless in Miami, I hadn't eaten, like, that whole day, and we had a late call time. So they bought pizza like in the middle, like halfway through set or whatever, and we cut, and it was just smelling way too good. So I like shoved 2 pieces of pizza down my mouth, and I had a blowjob scene directly after that, which was probably not the smartest. And yeah, projectile vomited pepperoni chunks everywhere.
When I do really deep throat movie and then just like all the orange juice of my breakfast came out in front of everybody. I was very inexperienced when I first got in the business and it just, you know, now you gotta think about what scene you're shooting, but everybody seemed fine, but I feel bad for the cock, my co-star, because I don't know, it just seemed like a kill boner type if you see throw up on your cock.
One of the guys on a set was having difficulty, you know, keeping it hard.
This one time I was shooting with a performer that he just made the overall experience really terrible. My thing is anal. I love anal. I have no problem with anal, but because he made the whole experience so bad, my asshole would just not open up at all. I was like, so I had the entire like production waiting on me and the guy was getting frustrated, so then he would go soft. That was embarrassing. So I think about that when I get to those points where my ass was like not there. I'm like, no bitch, don't do it.
Bodies are trolls. Like, you're gonna make a loud ass queef exactly when you don't want to.
My pussy has taken a lot of air into it in like doggy, and then somebody's fucking me and like my pussy's just like queefing over and over again.
A guy pulled me like off of his dick one time and I queefed, but then I just kept queefing. Like it just, because I'd been upside down and there was a lot of air in there, and every time I thought it was gonna stop, it just kept happening.
Now you can find me face down, ass up, sucking air into my own pussy and farting it out. I will queef all day.
It had to happen in my youth, like really, really young, because, you know, after a certain amount of time, like nothing embarrasses you anymore. I must have been like 21 years old, and I was doing a, phone sex ad, which of course those don't really exist, I don't think at all anymore. Maybe they do, but I don't think they do. But phone sex ads used to be in the back of these things called magazines. Sorry. And, you know, and so there was tons of them in the back of magazines for phone sex ads, for phone sex lines. And so I was doing one of those advertisements, and I was, how do I explain this? But you know, I was like on my back, you know, I can't like do it now, but with my, you know, up this way and my legs going that way, So yeah, like, you know, up and over. And I had 3 girls that were like, you know, posing like, you know, like over my pussy with their boobs out and the whole 9 yards. And I let out the fucking hugest queef of my entire fucking life. And like literally, like these girls' hair all went like, woo!
It always seems to be some girl will come up to me and be like, Dee, oh my God! And I'm like, hi? And she's like, oh my God, it's been so long. It has? Who are you? Oh, we shot a scene together like 4 months ago. And just that moment where it percolates through my brain of like, oh my God, I banged this girl and just don't remember at all. And it happened to me a lot when I was doing a lot of wrestling. Here I am, like she's coming to this expecting to do a porn scene. And instead, it's 35 minutes of getting her ass kicked. So here they are just trying their damnedest. This is the hardest they've worked in 3 years, just on a physical exertion level. And I'm just kicking their ass. And then afterward, I put on a strap on and bang the crap out of them. Well, that's very memorable to this girl. To me, I've just been staring at the back of her neck for 35 minutes solid. I haven't even seen her face, and then I'm doing most of my sex in doggy style. So then when she comes up to me later and I'm like, I don't recognize this face at all. Well, yeah, I haven't actually seen her face, but then I feel super bad. So that's probably my most awkward moment, is when I don't recognize somebody who I have actually had sex with. That makes me... It really hammers home to me that I'm a slut.
It was going to be a instructional video for Pornhub on the joys of anal sex and how to have it safely and different stuff that you can do to your butt. And I was in the up and over position. For those of you who don't know, that's when the girl is face down, ass up, and the guy's kind of like squatting down into whatever hole he's getting into. And they gave us this little cart next to the big thing that we were fucking on that had lube and condoms and like all the stuff that we would need. And the hand sanitizer bottle looked a lot like the lube bottle. And again, I was in the up and over position, so I was just like, hey buddy, can I get some lube? And my friend was like, yeah, no problem. He just like reached over to the cart and like squirted a bunch in his hand and like slathered it all over my butt. And right as it touched me, I heard somebody else in the room go, hey, wait, isn't that the hand sanitizer? And then my whole ass was just on fire, and I jumped up and I was screaming and I ran to the shower, and the shower wasn't working right, and so I was just holding my ass and screaming.
So I was doing a scene for Wicked Pictures, actually. And it was Randy Spears and I. And he was doing me from behind. And while he was doing me, he was like some cowboy. That was in the scene, he was like this cowboy dude. He had his cowboy hat on and he had a cigarette. And he was smoking his cigarette or doing whatever it was. I couldn't see, I was bent over while he was doing me from behind. And it was the weirdest thing. Like all of a sudden, it felt like a spider came in and bit me like inside my asshole. Like it fucking hurt. It was like, you know, or even if you got stung by a bee. I haven't gotten stung by a bee, so I don't know what that is. But I've gotten bit by spiders where it just hurts real bad. It's like this big like stinging feeling. I'm like, holy fuck. And I couldn't take it anymore. So all of a sudden, you know, he's doing me and I'm like trying to cut. I'm like, spider bite. And everybody on the set is just quiet, because usually you'll hear something, but then they start kind of like giggling. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Randy Spears, I look behind me. There's Randy Spears behind me waving his hand. I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? His cherry from his cigarette ended up in my asshole as he was spreading me and holding me from behind so they could get the shot. And it got into my ass and it burned my asshole. So what happened was, instead of him, you know, saying something to me, he started blowing on it to think it would go away, and it only made it worse.
Bodily functions are bodily functions. If we're doing anal, poop is gonna happen, and every time you're a little like, oh my God, this never happens to me.
I've never shit on anyone. I feel like that would be really embarrassing to me.
I think the most embarrassing thing that's happened to me in porn is probably pooping myself. Not on purpose, but just like trying to push squirt out a little too hard.
The getting pooped on, kind of embarrassing, but also kind of comical.
It was my first gangbang. And you know, every girl dreams of her first gangbang. You know, you write in your diary about it. You know, when you go to bed at night, you like sit beside your bed and you pray like, dear God, I hope like my first gangbang goes great. And so like I was working with like a bunch of dudes I had crushes on, and like the director I had the hots for, and I had done anal like at home with like reusable enemas that like you buy in the sex shop. And then I go on set and there's like the fleet enema. Lo and behold, the fleet enema is filled with saline. Like nobody told me because they'd seen me do anal before and assumed I knew better. You're supposed to empty out the saline before you put it in your ass. You empty out the saline and fill the container with plain water because saline acts as a laxative and you will shit like a goose. And that's exactly what I did. It was like a volcano of geese coming out of my ass. And it was like all over everybody. It was like over the first dude, and then it just was spraying everywhere. And then so I went in the bathroom and I'm like trying to clean out and I'm like crying through the door. And then the production assistant, she's like knocking on the door and she's like, hey, this happens a lot. Like, don't feel bad. Just like, you know, get cleaned up and come out there. And then I come back out and like the guys are all sitting in the green room like jerking their dicks off because that's what you do on a porn set. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Do you guys still think I'm cute? Like, can we finish this scene? And then we finished the scene and it was fine, but it was like very mortifying.
I was working with, Bailey J, super hot trans woman. We happened to live in the same town for a little bit, and we like DM'd on Twitter and da-da-da. Anyway, long story short, she was like, let's do a scene. And she had never worked with a cis male before, and she's kind of like a really big deal in porn. So for me to be the only guy she's ever worked with, I was like, what? And she's also super sweet and super funny, and she has like 6 cats, and I love cats, and everything was just going off awesome. And her husband's filming her doing me in the butt, and you know, and we're like getting along. She's talking about writing this cookbook, and I'm like, that sounds so interesting. And then I just shit all over her and her couch while she was fucking me in the butt. It was like animal water kind of stuff. And it was like, and she's a pro, she's been around, she's done a lot of anal, so she was very chill about it. But man, what like a lame, sad set. Like pooping all over Bailey J is not cool.
Oh, this was funny. Okay, so you know we wear sponges when we're on our period, and like usually a girl just puts it up there. She doesn't make an announcement like, hey, I'm on my period to the whole set. Like you usually don't know. And so I was on my period, I did that, and we did the scene good, like it's going, we're fucking everything, and then we get ready to do the cum shot, and the guy, like I'm like this, and then the guy's like over me, and then so he's like fucking, and then he pulls out, and like blood squirts from his dick as he's just coming, and his face, the look of horror and shock on his face, because he thought he was jerking out like blood from his ejaculation.
My butt bleeds every time you put something in it. So like, usually it's like, oh, oops, blood, wipe it up. But this one specific day, my butt just kept bleeding. And so it was funny because they would like pan. I think other people would get embarrassed if they were like newer or whatever and like weren't used to their butt bleeding every time. But they would like pan up to my face and then like cut, and then we'd like wipe it off and then keep going. So I guess if I was easily embarrassed, that would probably be it.